Aren't we incredibly fortunate to have Daniel here with us today? Pull up a chair.
Thank you. I was certainly not planning on singing that song. Then you read that beautiful reading, and your own, both of those, and the subject we talked about, and it all kind of felt like that song.
Mm-hmm.
Although I haven't sung that song in a long time. That was.
You did a good job of it.
Well, okay. Thanks. Well, it's like, I mean, it's really, you know, that opening line. When I watch the news, it makes me cry for all the anger I see. That was how I was feeling. I was up late at night, and it was actually an Oprah Winfrey show about the suffering of women and girls around the world, and it just broke my heart. So I was heartbroken when I wrote that, and that's probably partly why I don't sing it very often, because it's, you know. But here we are with lots of anger, kind of everywhere. Yeah. That comes to mind, you know.
So when I was deciding what to do this week, what topic to pick, I thought about the fact that whenever Daniel and I are together, we just get to talking about some deep stuff. We also talk about how good Trader Joe's pretzels with almond butter in them are. We talk about those kinds of things as well. But,
and which is better, Snickers or Reese's?
Yes, yeah. Snickers.
Reese's.
But you can have both. That's the beauty of this planet.
Costco membership, and away you go.
But so the subject that's been on my mind that I thought would spark an interesting discussion for you, hopefully, is this idea, and we sing the song, there is only love. There's only love. That's what we believe in this church. There is one love, and that love is the fundamental truth of this entire world. We were all born with God's name. Everyone, regardless of how they're wearing it, right? Everyone. And that means that everything is fundamentally good, right?
No.
Right. And yet we look around and we see this world that's in so much pain. And I have to limit the amount of news I watch because I will cry. I do cry. And I try not to run away from the crying because the crying is important too. But when the crying brings me to a place of feeling futile, that's when I have to back away. And so what's the kind of the way I've been framing it in my mind is that there's this absolute truth that I absolutely believe. And then there's this human truth, this relative truth. We live in this human world, and humans do terrible things to one another. And how do we reconcile those? And so that's what I wanted to talk about today. And I'm just handing it over to you for a minute, Daniel.
Well, you know what? Actually, to me, it's something I talk about more and more in workshops and things, is how small our vision and ambition need to be to make a positive difference versus how big the problems appear to look. You know, like worldwide, you know, I mean, when we turn on the tap and have clean water, we're experiencing a privilege that probably, I'm going to conservatively say 1 billion, but probably well more than 1 billion people don't even dream of. So can we, by donating by buying that bottle of water I bought that says, you know, you're making a difference with this bottle of water, does it really make a difference? You know, a little. If I compost, does it make a difference? A little. If I recycle something, does it make a difference? A little. Am I going to solve the world's problems with anything I can personally do? Actually, categorically, I cannot solve the world's problems. So I can't end war. I can't end hunger. I can't end homelessness. I can't end hatred with a song. I mean, I sometimes think, like, if Imagine couldn't do it, and What a Wonderful World couldn't do it, and From a Distance couldn't do it, and these are just English language classics, you know, then what am I thinking? Well, how grand is my ambition with a song? How about I allow it to make a difference for one person for 4 minutes? You know, can I aspire to that? And so the narrower my focus gets, to me anyway, the less despairing it looks and the less untackleable a problem it looks. Yeah. You know? So is it all good? Oh, no, I would never. In fact, I push back on that when people say, it's all good. Is it? Because, for one thing, I mean, any one of us could tell a story that would break the rest of our hearts, okay? And what kind, I don't mean this, it's a little extreme to say, but what kind of monster would I be to listen to your story of being abused as a child or bankruptcy or, you know, the divorce of your parents and say, it's all good? What kind of, I mean, it's really fundamentally for each of us to find the good, I suppose, if we're so inclined, but it's really nobody else's business if we do, it seems to me. So I never go to it's all good. And therefore I couldn't say it's all love. I mean, I grew up in a Holocaust surviving family. No matter how hippie I am in my family, and I am a weirdo, I would never say that, like, for example, that the Holocaust had its good side because it gave rise to the state of Israel, which became, in 1948, the safest place for Jews in the world, in the history of the world, right? So the state of Israel was founded really as an aftermath, as a response by the world to the devastation and just immeasurable tragedy of the Holocaust. But does that mean that it's all good because it resulted in the state of Israel? I would never say it, and I would hope almost no one or no one would ever say it. So all the bigger questions of it's all good or it's all love, to me, they're all overwhelming. All the big questions are overwhelming. The small questions, getting fired love? Well, you know, in the moment it feels crappy probably, or getting divorced, you know, a part of love, a part of the love of the world, a part of the perfection of things. It certainly doesn't feel like it in the moment, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody, nor would I wish anybody to learn some profound lesson from deep pain. I mean, maybe there's an easier way, you know, for somebody to learn a deep lesson. But I also sometimes think out loud, and I have never had anybody push back on this. Have you ever heard anybody say 10 years after a divorce that they wish they hadn't gotten divorced? I've never heard it. No. In the moment, for sure, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody, but when we look back on the life we're living, it ends up kind of looking like we were, you know, being like water, like we were flowing right where we were meant to flow. And it starts to look in retrospect like it was all good. But that needs to be each of our decisions,
That's
I think.
each of our, it's not for anybody else to impose upon you.
Yeah.
Oh, but it's all good. It's going to be all good.
That's always felt very obnoxious.
And so what I would say is that, yes, so I do tell you, the possibility exists that it's gonna be all good at some point, that you're gonna realize that. But I can't impose that on you. And one of the things I like to remind myself of is that if it's not good, if it doesn't feel good, there's something in it that is for my good. And if I can believe that, then I put myself in a position to be paying attention to what in it might be for my good. And sometimes for my good means my heart gets broken so deeply that it's broken open to receive something that it could never have received were it to remain safe and closed in any way. And I'm not telling you you need to break your heart open. I'm saying that whenever my heart has been broken, I've had a choice about whether to leave it open or whether to close it right up again and harden myself. And the way I choose, the way I have tried to choose, is to keep it open. And so back to your point of we can't solve the whole world's problems. There's no one in here who can solve the whole world's problems.
No one anywhere.
No one anywhere who can solve the whole world's problems. And yet, and so really, it doesn't matter what I believe. whether I believe it's all love or it's all good, or it's not all love or it's not all good. What matters is how my belief makes me behave in the world. And if I believe that love is the highest power, I believe that with all of my soul, then that will impact my behavior. Gandhi said, a thought leads you to a word leads you to an action leads you to a value, and a value determines your life. So when we take on the belief that I will make something good of this, that I will not allow my heart to be broken for no reason, that I will make something good out of this. And I'm just talking about my own personal heartbreaks. I don't know what yours are, and this is not about a judgment at all. But when I can think to myself, what good, in what way am I being challenged that's going to help me grow into a person who can love more deeply, more widely, more openly, then I am impacting whatever corner of the world I'm in. And I don't have to worry about the rest of it. I can't do anything about the rest of it anyway. But I know that I can watch the news and let it break my heart open and make me ask myself, what is mine to do here? And if I feel completely helpless in the face of some of the stuff that's going on, will help somebody. Okay, I can't solve world hunger, but I can go to a food bank and bring them some food or help them distribute the food. I can do that. And then I am using whatever that heartbreak is to make some kind of positive impact on the world, rather than using it to sit in my living room and get angrier and angrier, so that when I go out to the store, I suspect everybody who's driving a certain car or wearing a certain haircut or a certain bumper sticker on their car, assuming that they're somebody that it's safe for me to judge and possibly even hate. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. It reminds me of a long time ago dating. Like when you'd go, like, you know, you ask somebody out on a date or you apply for a job, and if you don't get it, I mean, our inclination, it seems to me, when we are denied something that we say we want, inclination is to feel like a no is bad news and a yes is good news. You know, like the girl who says yes is the good news. And the girl who says no is a rejection or a failure, or the job you don't get is a failure. But it's always seemed to me, really always, that the person who says no when I ask them out is doing me a favor. That is to say, a no is as good as a yes. And I actually free associate and think of when I got to LA to make music for a living, and I started singing some songs in public, and some of the songs were half good, you know, they were decent. And a few people in the music business approached me about this or that thing, a contract or a publishing thing, or what if I tried sending it to this guy, or if you just sign here. I did get a few of those, if you just sign here. You know, and I remember reading those agreements and showing them to the very few people I knew in the business who could tell me whether it was a good offer or not. And there were no good offers in those first offers. And I remember starting to feel like it was sort of a game of tennis where balls were coming at me and my job was to keep hitting them away until the right one arrived. You know? So a no in that case was truly as good as a yes, or maybe even better than a yes. A discerning no was as good as a yes. And that's kind of my own sort of way of, that's kind of my own version of it's all good. I mean, it really is, you know. Another example is writing 1,000 songs with the understanding that 980 of them are going to suck. That's just a fact, right? So it really is all good in that sense. But that requires me, and I'm nowhere near great at this, you know, but that requires me to not mind the wasted hours or the embarrassment of an unsuccessful show or an album that no one buys, or the girl who says no to the date. I mean, that requires me to really stay centered in some kind of, you would call it a knowing, you know, some kind of core of me has to stay okay in the midst of the no's, because if I'm trying to remember that the no's are as good as a yes, And that upheaval in the world, you know, the arc of, what is it, the arc of justice, what is it, the arc of history is long, but it bends towards justice, or, and I would say maybe kindness. I mean, it does sometimes seems that way and sometimes doesn't. So do we trust that the core of humanity is good? Do we trust that we know what progress looks like? Because right now, some people are demanding one thing that they call progress. Others are calling this progress. And literally each group is calling the others a regress. This is, if you get what you want, it's bad news. And the other half is saying, if you get what you want, it's bad news. Well, you know, I don't know. I don't know where that goes.
I think that in that particular, and I've been asking myself this question because I like to tell the story. You know, it's nice when you can tie a story up with a bow. Before I got this job, you knew me during those years when I left the job and was completely afloat, like I don't know what to do, and then decided to go to ministerial school. And then during those years, before and during and after ministerial school, all these opportunities cropped up, like this church wants me, they're saying they want me. And then I would go through the process and I was rejected. I was told no.
On second thought, no thank you.
Yes.
Right.
And no again, and no again. And I won't say that it didn't hurt. It hurt. I cried a lot. But I also kept in my mind, and it was my prayer, if this is my job, then God, I want it. And if it's someone else's job, please give it to them. Because I don't want someone else's job. I want my job. And if I didn't get it, it wasn't my job. And I truly believed that. And eventually, I was led to this place where the number of coincidences, the number of synchronicities that happened when I walked into this building for the first time was just unbelievable. If you haven't heard me tell the story before, ask me sometime and I'll tell you about it. It's just one thing after another seemed preordained, and this was my job. And it wasn't ready for me before then. So I had to wait 2.5 years till y'all were ready for me, and I like to think I was getting ready for you as well. And that's the end of the story. It has a really nice ending on it. But what if y'all had said no? What if this wasn't my job either? What if I still didn't have one? Where would I be? And I like to think I would still be checking in with myself every day. Is this still mine to do? Am I to be a minister? Is that what I'm here for? And as long as there was a yes, then I would go, and here was what I told myself for that 2.5, 3 years. Then I have to be a minister everywhere. I have to be a minister in the grocery store. I have to be a minister when I'm sitting at the desk doing a job that makes me money but that doesn't do anything to set my heart aglow. I have to be a minister when I'm talking to people. I have to be a minister when I'm singing. I have to be a minister. And if I'm truly a minister, then that's just who I have to be in the world, whether anybody gives me a job doing that or not. And trusting that if it was meant if I was meant to have a job as a minister, that I would get one. And here I am. And I would like to think that if I hadn't got it, I would still be just at this point. At this point, I'm a minister. That's who I am. That's who I am in the world. I don't know how to be anybody else. And I'm a minister who cusses. I'm a minister who's way not perfect in a million ways. But I can see the surprise on your faces.
No. Everybody come on all together. No.
No. But that's who I am in the world. So this idea of if you can hold on to some belief that allows you to be your best self today and tomorrow and the next day, then it doesn't really matter what that fundamental belief is. If you are holding on to any belief, no matter how airy-fairy and hippie it's supposed to be, or it sounds like, if that belief is causing you to be angry, to be constantly upset, to judge, to hold judgment in your heart, to exclude people, to say, I'm us and they're them, then I challenge you to look at that belief, because that belief is not serving you. Yeah. It's not serving you, and it's not serving the world.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. We have about Yeah, maybe 5 more minutes.
Well, I have a song that comes to mind.
All right. Let's do it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, a song. Those come up in my mind sometimes.
Yeah. In the most beautiful way, I would say.
Only sometimes.
In 20 out of 1,000 times.
20 out of 1,000 times. 20 out of 1,000 times I write a decent song. There you go. All right. You know, this song came to mind a couple times on this conversation. And we can just have a little bit more guitar. This is I don't know, you've probably heard this song. This is a song inspired by a phone call that we received from our boy's teacher in his first year of school. There was a boy in his class who was struggling in every way. 6-year-old boy named Evan, and he had just arrived from Vietnam, not speaking a word of English. And of course couldn't follow instructions and didn't know where he was or who he was sitting next to or what he was supposed to do. And pretty much every day there was some kind of kerfuffle around Evan. And then one day his teacher called Melina and me and said, I finished reading a book to the class today, and your son raised his hand and said, I think Evan did such a good job listening that he should get an extra point. So I wrote this song about that a few months later, and it's on this subject, really. And we told him when he came home, people are going to, we think things about other people and other people think things about us. But to be thought of as kind is the highest possible compliment. There's nothing better people could say about you. And that is a core value, right? That's something that we actually wanted him to hear very clearly. And other people might say, you know, we want you to be thought of as successful, or which is reasonable, smart, which is reasonable, respectful, which is reasonable. There's a lot of other values. For us, kind above all. And this song also is a reflection of this kind of growing awareness in me that a small act, maybe even if it is all I can do, can be enough. Enough to make the day a day well spent. Enough for me to put my head on my pillow feeling like I did what I came to do today. A little thing, a little step at a time. So here's that song. Lately I've been thinking about what motivates me to give a couple dollars to a stranger on the street, to hold the door, carry groceries, help a neighbor in need. When history repeats itself in headlines every day, solutions never big enough for problems that we face. As a man, as a dad, what difference can I make? 'Cause I know better than to think I'll be remembered for a favor or a quarter or a smile. Oh, but maybe before I return to sender, I can do one thing worthwhile. So I'm gonna try to raise a kind child. Sure would help if our boy went and got an MBA and took care of his artist mom and dad in their old age. But let's face it, Wall Street probably isn't in his DNA. But when his first grade teacher said she wanted us to know It's Jude who always comforts any kid who sits alone. There's just so much pride my heart can take. My retirement can wait. 'Cause I know better than to think I'll be remembered for a fortune or a pension or a prize. Oh, but maybe before I return to sender, I'll have done one thing worthwhile. So I'm gonna try to raise a kind child. I don't want him to think the world is his to save. It's too much pressure anyway, it can't be done. I don't want him to think he has to be a saint, 'cause the truth is saints don't have any fun. Mostly I just hope, my boy, you'll come to understand. No 401k or GPA can make a happy man. It's having roots, doing good, helping out where you can. So put down roots, do some good, take somebody's hand. And you'll know better than most what really matters, what makes living this life worthwhile. And there may come a day your own kids will remember how their granddad used to say with a smile that he raised. We raised a kind child.
Thank you. So we've used a little more time than usual. We're just going to do a little arrow meditation. What I'd like us to do is take a deep breath. If you're comfortable, close your eyes and simply ask this question. What have I heard today that I can take with me? One thing that might open my heart, make me kinder. Ask that question and see what comes. If it doesn't come to you right now, that's okay. It'll come to you at some point. Now take a deep breath into that possibility that something got in today that will make a huge difference. Make a small difference, which down the road can make a huge difference in your particular life and those around you. Breathe deeply into that. Just relax your belly and take a deep breath. Say thank you for the good that was here for me today. May I take this in and allow it to open me just even 1% more than I was yesterday. And may my eyes be open to see how my world is different. And perhaps how my living in a slightly different world will change the world for the better, for another. That's really all we're asked to do. And so we trust that it is done. Whatever you needed to hear, you heard, and it's in your heart. And from that heart space, you will live and you will bless and be a blessing. And learn that to be a blessing is to be blessed. Beyond any blessing you could just go out looking for. This is the truth. We hold it in love. We give grateful thanks for it and say amen.